Hello and welcome to Memory Matters for All Ages. I'm Janelle Nichols from the Gables of Hudson Assisted Living Residence. If you've been watching the program or if this is your first time, you are going to join us as we welcome Kathy Kilpatrick. Kathy is a speech-language pathologist with 44 years of experience. She is an author of over 30 publications. She is a national speaker, and she has worked with business people. She has worked with individuals that are dealing with a diagnosis of dementia or Alzheimer's. And Kathy does not know I'm going to do this. Before we jump into our today's subject, I was looking at a pamphlet that came across my desk for a conference at Landerhaven on geriatrics, and of course I was looking to see if I wanted to go, and when I opened it I wanted to see who the speakers were, and the keynote speaker is our own Kathy Kilpatrick. That's wonderful.
Thanks, Janelle.
I'm sure you're looking forward to that.
Well, I am, but you've heard me speak so much, you could probably do part of it.
I don't know about that. I'll just be in the audience rooting for you.
Oh, okay, thanks.
But let's get down to business. We want to talk today about the subject of mild cognitive impairment. Right. And I know, Kathy, this is something that is near to your heart, and you have worked with a lot of individuals with a diagnosis of what is now called MCI. It is gaining, I don't want to say popularity, but gaining recognition as an actual diagnosis.
Right.
What are your comments on that?
Well, I think one of the most important things, Janelle, is to help our viewers understand what mild cognitive impairment is. And you're right, because I think when we start to have some memory issues, whether we're 30, 40, 50, or whatever age, that it's really important that we understand this a little bit better, and so that's what we're going to talk about today.
All right, very good. Now, in my my work in the assisted living realm, I see and meet people and families with folks at all different levels of a dementia diagnosis. Meeting people with the mild cognitive impairment, I see folks that some of them, it's as if it never progresses. They stay the same. I don't see any changes. And then others, it seems to decline. They seem to make a decline very rapidly. Can you make any comments about that, the difference in people?
Well, first of all, mild cognitive impairment is not dementia. Okay, it is, last time we talked about normal aging, and then we have dementia, which is what we're going to really focus on, in future shows. But the mild cognitive impairment are changes beyond normal aging in cognition and thinking. Okay, and you are absolutely right. What seems to happen, and it is a relatively new terminology, so that we've heard more of that in the last 5 years. Remember years ago being asked to do a program to try and explain that a little bit more when the literature out there was a little, fuzzy. But some people with a mild cognitive impairment will stay the same. And, again, it's not dementia, it's just where they've come to. So maybe it's normal aging with a little bit of more difficulty. There are some people who, interestingly, will get better. And we're going to talk about, when we get into the tip area, why some of these people may get better. Remember, we talked about in previous shows, if you watch them, that it's important to get a complete physical, because there are very many causes of memory problems that are reversible. And if you address that, what look like a mild cognitive impairment may actually get better. Then there's a percentage that will progress to dementia, and some will show a lot within the first year, and then others, kind of go over a period of 5 years. But here's another thing to remember. When both of us have had some major stuff going on in this last week, so I feel like a goofy person and trying to, keep it all together, and there's been a little anxiety of some things, which is a distraction. When you're anxious, then that's stressful. things that are happening which will impair your memory. So perhaps that's a little bit of what's going on out there. So on an outpatient basis, when I'm working with someone, I may give them some strategies. We may look at what the underlying anxiety is. Is it going to be a long-term issue, or is it like what we've been going on, just some things within our other jobs that are, getting to us and that are making it a little bit harder to keep all of our ducks in a row or juggling all the balls that we do. It's like normally we can handle 5 or 6, and now we've got 9, and we've got something in the background, and that's life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, working in the assisted living realm, I'm in my 9th year now. I have been encouraged by the attitude of the professionals and doctors and organizations in recognizing MCI as to be something real beyond just normal aging.
Right.
And is it my understanding from what you're saying, it is a diagnosable condition, correct? By a phizician, if you get to a physician and
often it comes from a geriatric assessment where they're doing further testing, and there's a variety of physicians. I think the thing that we have to be careful of is sometimes people throw out the word Alzheimer's or dementia, but nobody's really looked in depth to what's going on.
Right.
And as we've talked about, people are afraid of the word Alzheimer's. Nobody wanted to use the word cancer before. So people who have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's after everything else has been ruled out, some families or individuals just want, I don't have Alzheimer's, I just have dementia. So here's the most important part, and I'm really glad you brought that up. The diagnosis matters on some level, but I think the more important thing is if the issue's there, address it. Because it's your quality of life, it's your safety, it's your long-term financial planning. Both of us have talked about the fact that when we've got memory problems, we pull in some other strategies. This was the goofiest week, and some of the stuff I did, I'm embarrassed to tell anybody, but I knew what it was. I was totally preoccupied 80% of the time, and so I couldn't give everything my best shot. Well, some people have that going on for a long period of time, or they don't have a way, to handle it.
So if I hear you correctly too, we have to look at this as an individual situation. Each individual is different in the way this affects them, and in the way, also in the way they view it. But we have to look at that. Can you give us some suggestions? It sounds like there are things that can be done to address mild cognitive impairment.
Right.
Can you give us some pointers?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the products that I put together about 10 or 15 years ago is this Walking the Path to Memory Fitness. And so whenever I get a patient that has some difficulty, or an individual, a friend who says, what's going on? Some of the things that I've addressed in this book, which is a weekly kind of thing, is this is how I see what we can do to be helpful to someone that may be 30 or 60 or 90 complaining about their memory. First of all, we've been covering memory basics here, and I think this is really important. So anybody that comes in to the series of programs can go to the link at the end of the program to my website, and each program will be listed. There'll be a blog, and there'll be, in the next week or so, a link up to the YouTube interview, the program that you're seeing today. But here are the cornerstones to what I work with in treatment. First of all, you've got to have an attitude that you want to do something about it, or that you want to address it rather than denial. Going around and saying senior moment and there's nothing I can do about it, or everyone in my family has Alzheimer's or dementia, is not going to help you come up with strategies. And then we talk about the fact that you've got to pay attention, and we will address this in more detail, but often we don't remember because we're not paying attention. We're doing 3 or 4 things at a time. We're doing that multitasking, which we've had a couple of programs about already. Then it's those lifestyle choices. So when I see someone with mild cognitive impairment, I want to find out, if they want to do something about it. Now, usually if they're in front of me, they've been referred and they're there because they want to do something about it. Then I assess how well they are paying attention. Also, their hearing. If you don't hear it, you're not going to be able to remember it. Then I start looking at their lifestyle choices. And if you're not eating well, sleeping well, or exercising, you're not going to maximize your memory. And so possibly if you have sleep apnea or the hearing loss or something like that, and you address those things, or depression, your memory may get back to not a mild cognitive level, but more of a normal aging level. And then, turning around and giving people memory props. My mom was a genius when it came to memory props. And so as she started to become more forgetful, what ended up happening is most people didn't really realize that she proofread my products, so I knew her brain, so to speak. And helping people maybe revise or update some of their strategies and looking at their personal situation. It could be that they took on too much. There's so many things that can go on with that, and I have seen some interesting things. I had a woman who had decided to volunteer, and she wanted to do the cash register at the gift shop, and she had been diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment. Well, I wouldn't want to take that job on. And so we worked with it for a little bit, and we worked with the head of the volunteers, and then my recommendation was, this is too stressful, and why don't you find another area to continue to volunteer, because that's good for your brain. So those are just a couple of the things that I think are helpful.
Well, it seems, if I'm hearing you correctly, that there are some simple steps that can be taken first, even addressing a hearing issue or even vision.
Right.
I'm glad you brought up the stressors. We've talked about that. It's been a difficult week for me also. And when you said you had done something, I'm the same way. I don't want to even say what I did something so dumb this week, and it startled me.
Yeah.
I forgot an obligation and I didn't show. I have never done that in my life. And it startled me, and I realized that I was letting the stress get to me. As we move towards the close of the program, I do want to ask one thing. You talked about memory props. Can you share one thing? You helped me a couple weeks ago with that memory props, told me what to do counting on my fingers. Share that with the audience real quick, because it really did help me.
Okay, we have a couple of minutes left here. I don't have enough fingers now to do it.
I hear you.
One of my tips was that before I leave the house, today it was like, okay, don't forget the clock, don't forget your cell phone, which is at home, because my hand was filled with don't forget the cough drop, and so I put 5 things on my fingers to help.
So you assign your chores by priority in order
of how I need to do them to get out of the house. Right,
finger,
absolutely.
yes.
And it works.
It works.
90% of the time.
It really works.
Yeah, very good.
All right. As we go towards the close of the program, Kathy always leaves us with something to focus on this week and with a thought. Kathy, we've got about a minute left. What do you have for us this week? What do we focus on?
Check out the link at the end of this program to my website, because there will be a blog about this, and I have much more information that you can go online and find, as well as on my website, that will help you with this. I think that's the most important thing. And I'm going to toss the quote to you, Janelle. Give you a surprise.
All right, very good. I'll see if my arm is long enough here, because Kathy gave me this quote. Don't have my glasses, but this is a quote by Michael J. Fox.
Correct. What an inspiration he is.
Absolutely. He's amazing. Coming back on TV now for a new program. It says, I'd like to encourage people to realize any action is a good action if it is proactive and there is a positive intent behind it. So we can hold on to that for the week.
Absolutely.
Very good. Thank you, Michael J. Fox. And thank you, Kathy. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back here next week. Again, watch at the end of the program. We'll have the websites on the screen, so you can go to Kathy's sites and get more information about what we talked about today. Now go and make it a great day.